Let's get into the quarterbacks then.
Sure.
I mean, you already gave us a really helpful hint that you should take one.
Yeah.
And if you're in Superflex, you should take a second one.
Yeah.
It really helps you.
Right.
What's the strategy behind this position specifically this year?
I mean, we've talked about this a lot, and obviously there are mobile quarterbacks at the top of the rankings, of my rankings, the top of most people's rankings as well. I think just to sort of talk about why is that, why do you want that, just very simply, you can earn points with your legs and your arms versus just your arms. Just to give you some actual stats to back up sort of what you know intuitively, right? Last year, the 5 quarterbacks who rushed for at least 400 yards combined to average almost 20 points a game, 19.9. So it's a much clearer path to elite fantasy production at a quarterback position if they can get points with your legs and your arm. Last 2 seasons, every quarterback that has finished top 5 in points per game had at least 240 rushing yards. That's one of the reasons why you see I'm lower on CJ Stroud than consensus. Why I don't have a lot of shares of Joe Burrow, proud fantasy life investor who I love, but why I don't have a lot of shares of Joe Burrow this year. Why Dak Prescott is lower as well. Just again, you want guys that run, and if you don't get one of the elite guys, the Allen, the Hurts, the Jacksons, Kyler Murray's my ride or die. We've talked about Anthony Richardson, even guys like Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love, they'll get you some running. Then you get a guy like Jaden Daniels, later in the draft. And so we're going to go through this all, but honestly, that's what it is that you want a mobile quarterback, and to the extent that you get stuck without a mobile quarterback, there's a sameness, as you'll see we go through the tiers, there's a sameness to the pocket passers that I think you can, all right, if you're going to get, aced out of a mobile quarterback, at least wait then on a pocket passer, because you'll see it's not worth drafting up for the pocket passers.
Yep. I think what's most glaring to me, we'll get to it, but just the depth of the position once you get outside the top 20 guys is nuts. There's guys like Matthew Stafford's going 23rd. Geno Smith, who was an elite fantasy option 2 years ago, he's going 25th among quarterbacks on Yahoo. So we'll get to those guys, but it is an unusual amount of depth.
Before we do, let's take a look at Tier 1. Obviously, Josh Allen always kind of headlines this list. It's Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and then Patrick Mahomes. So I think the simple question is, Matthew, everybody always wonders, how early can I take Josh Allen if I'm somebody that wants an elite quarterback? Where's the starting point comfortably?
I have him as a 4th-round pick. I have him at number 35 overall, which is basically, depending on if you're a 12 or 10 team league, but basically, into the 3rd round, top of the 4th is about where I'm taking Josh Allen. Having said that, look, and so that's where I would take him. But, I've had people say, well, wait, I really want Josh Allen, and, I don't think he's going to come back. Can I get him at the end of the 2nd? Is that okay? Is that too early? And my answer is always just that's earlier than where I would take him. But you're not losing your league because Josh Allen's your quarterback. It's fine. Get your guys. I'm always a big believer in that. But Josh Allen has been a top 2 fantasy quarterback for 4 straight seasons. More games of 20 or more points last season than all other players. 3 more than any other quarterback as well. Just such an incredibly high floor and a high ceiling for Allen. The rushing, the passing, and it's a weird thing to say, but for whatever reason, I actually think as it relates to the Bills offense, there is an addition by subtraction. It does feel like Stephon Diggs was a bit of a distraction last year. Obviously, there was some inconsistency to Gabe Davis. So
offensive coordinator change mid-season.
So I feel like things are sort of aligned here. Josh Allen has his guys, right? They bring in Curtis Samuel, they draft Keon Coleman, but bigger role for Khalil Shakir. He loves Dalton Kincaid. He's going to run another year of James Cook. It should be another potent offense that Josh Allen will be in charge of. Anyway, Josh Allen, by the way, proud fantasy life investor. He's my number 1 overall quarterback, and not because he's so smart with his investments.
I think maybe people don't think about it like this, but Josh Allen is the safest bet in fantasy every single year. Like you mentioned, he's been the number 1 quarterback 3 of the past 4 years, and then the year that he wasn't, he was 2nd. Yeah. And just the rushing gives you such an insanely high floor. And it's for him to be doing this in Buffalo as well, where in the second half of every season, the weather obviously turns, it gets harder to accumulate passing yards, but he's just so dominant on the ground. He's continuing to add to that. Every year there's the thought that Sean McDermott says, we're going to kind of protect Josh a bit more.
Never happens.
No, they're never going to protect Josh. If you start protecting Josh, then you lose the value of Josh. You lose what makes him special, is that he is a battering ram, and he just seems to be indestructible. Touch wood, because you're indestructible until you're not. But I think that with Allen, just with the rushing, with obviously the passing, and then also the other thing too is that, like, look at the Bills' schedule. They don't have any easy games. There are no layups on that schedule outside of the Patriots right at the back end of the season. So I think they're going to have to be throwing more than people expect too.
And he could be fueled by hate this year because Josh Allen in an anonymous poll was
my
voted,
team name.
He was
Fueled
voted
by
as
hate.
the #1 most overrated player in a
Wow.
by fellow players. This wasn't by fans, by the way.
See, this is why we can't have the players voting for things.
Yeah, what
So
do they know?
Josh Allen is
Now,
the second best quarterback.
Josh
in the
Allen
NFL.
taking it all in good fun. So you're telling me I was voted as the #1 best trash talker. Let's go. Josh Allen having fun with it. But yeah, Josh Allen,
you know
he
what?
does catch a lot of hate because
I'll
of
tell you what.
turnovers.
You know what it sounds like Josh Allen is? Sounds like Josh Allen is also in a league of asshole. That's exactly what it sounds like.
felt
Josh
the
Allen and
personal
I.
The
comparison
National
coming.
Football
Yeah,
League.
yeah, exactly. Josh Allen and I simpatico. Josh Allen, he understands my pain. I understand Josh's. That's right, Josh. They hate us because they ain't us. There you go.
Yeah. You mentioned a good thing about the interceptions.
You heard me.
Yeah, okay. Good start to the show from you, Matthew. With the interception, this is more of a football thing. People need to get over the interceptions with Josh Allen a little bit because everyone focuses on how many turnovers he has. He has to put the Superman cape on every single game, do it all himself, and no one ever focuses on how many fumbles a quarterback has, which, by the way, a fumble is worse than an interception because they pick the ball up where he lost it, whereas Josh Allen has thrown interceptions 50 yards down the field a lot of the time. So let's just calm down with hating Josh Allen because he throws picks.
QB2 Jalen Hurts, a former successful ride or die, Matthew. Saquon Barkley entered this backfield, Jason Kelce off the football field and onto TV. Any concern about a drop-off in the rushing touchdowns that make him so great in fantasy?
I think there's got to be a slight one, right? There's two things. Obviously, the retirement of Jason Kelce, the addition of Saquon Barkley, right? You pay all the money to bring in somebody the nature of Saquon Barkley, like, all due respect to Miles Sanders or DeAndre Swift, like, they ain't Saquon Barkley. Having said that, this team was a disaster last year on offense, right? They had a change of coordinator. It didn't work out. So they bring in Kellen Moore this offseason. I also feel like, and I couldn't prove this in a court of law, but I just feel like Jalen Hurts was hurt all last year. He just didn't look right. It looked like he was sort of gutting through something. And so fully healthy back this year. I do think Kellen Moore will improve this offense. The addition of Saquon Barkley should take some of the offensive pressure off of Jalen Hurts. And so while there may be, 2-3 less rushing touchdowns because there may be the tush push is slightly less effective as a play, or they want to give more love at the goal line to Saquon Barkley where they weren't doing it with Swift or Sanders. The fact is that I think the passing will be more efficient. I think it'll be improved. Remember, Dallas Goedert was banged up last year. They've had some injury issues, on the entire team. And again, I feel like Hurts wasn't 100% healthy the whole year. So I think it sort of balances out. He's my #2 quarterback. I think there's a high floor. And I do think that because it'll open up things for Saquon, I think you'll see Kellen Moore do more RPO this year and try to get Jalen Hurts running more, which he didn't do as much last year. He had the rushing touchdowns, but it felt like he didn't
the yards.
He didn't have the yards. He wasn't doing as much RPO stuff where he would just, fake the pitch and just keep it himself and run for 8 yards.
Yeah, and I think the knee thing is the key there, where, as you mentioned, you wouldn't be able to prove it in a court of law, which would be a ridiculous kind of thing to happen for Matthew Berry to be in a court of law trying to prove to a judge that Jalen Hurts had hurt his knee. But he just didn't look like the same guy.
You remember the Saturday Night Live sketch Frozen Caveman Lawyer? That'd just be me.
No, I don't remember that.
You guys don't
Didn't
remember
catch
that?
that one.
No?
No, I probably wasn't born.
All right, it's a long sketch. Well, go YouTube it. Like, Phil Hartman is brilliant, but it was a whole thing,
Your Honor, Jalen was limping against the Cowboys.
No.
Well,
Well,
right here, and you have to freeze frame the tape.
Why are you here? In my court of law.
The whole premise of that
Please go
sketch
home.
was it was the dumbest thing in the world, but it's hilarious because Phil Hartman is a genius. But he would just be like, "I'm just a frozen caveman lawyer, so I don't understand your laws." But, and then he would, go into this whole thing. So it's just like, I'm just a fantasy football analyst. I don't understand your laws. But, Your Honor, look at this tape. He clearly is not 100%.
Doesn't have a bounce.
Look at him limping along. He can't even outrun a linebacker, Your Honor. Please. Exhibit A, Your Honor.
Yeah, Matt
Ipso facto.
Matt Patricia ordered the code red.
Yes, exactly.
I think with Hurts, he's never been the shiftiest, quickest guy. Like, he is more of a
power
straight
runner.
line, it's power. It's with it's his squats that propel him through guys. But last year, it really felt like he just wasn't. It felt like he had no burst. I do remember, there was one hit against the Cowboys where it's like, is he just going to miss the season? Like, is he just done? So I think that just with added health, with just the upside of Kellen Moore, I think we saw the offense was as bad as it could possibly be towards the back end of last season. So it should just be more creative, and that should offset Kelsey being gone and Saquon being there.
The final quarterback in Tier 1, Patrick Mahomes. And I know it's funny to ask this, Matthew, but is this a big bounce-back season for Mahomes? They won the Super Bowl, but in fantasy, this was not the Patrick Mahomes we were accustomed to having.
He had his worst statistical season fantasy-wise last year. And there's a couple reasons for it. First off, no one could catch. You know what I mean? Like, it's way too often. It was just like, oh, MVS is up and, whoa! Darn it. Like, that was, like, honestly, how many plays were you just like, hey, he's open up? Very frustrating for Patrick Mahomes, for fantasy managers that had Patrick Mahomes. Second half of the year, they went to a run-oriented. They were like, we can't pass the ball. Like, I got no one that can catch out here. It's Travis Kelce on limited snaps. That's all I got. Rashee Rice came on, but they just didn't have anything. There's inconsistency from MVS and Justin Watson and so on. And so they went run heavy, and Pacheco just had that monster second half and through the playoffs. But I think they've addressed it this year on a couple of levels. Obviously, another year of Rashee Rice now fully integrated into that system. I remember talking with Andy Reid about Rashee Rice at the Combine. He just talked to me about, like, it took him half a season to sort of learn the inside and outside routes, and to sort of, like, they like to have him mirror sometimes Travis Kelce's routes. And so once he learned Travis Kelce's route tree, then they could confuse defenses, and they could move Travis all over the field as well. And so second year of Rashee Rice, obviously the drafting of Xavier Worthy, the addition of Marquise Hollywood Brown. We just feel like Patrick Mahomes should get back to being Patrick Mahomes. The other thing is this is a very small thing that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, but last year, 389 rushing yards for Patrick Mahomes. It was a career high. It's his third straight season with 350 or more rushing yards. But here's the crazy stat. Mahomes had 0 rushing touchdowns. Despite having a career high in rushing yards, almost 400, he didn't actually get any rushing touchdowns, which I think is fluky. So I think you can pencil in 3 to 4 rushing touchdowns over the course of the year. So that also helps it as well. Like, again, a bootleg here, a scramble there. Maybe there's one dive over the end zone. Yeah, give me Patrick Mahomes as QB3.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to prove this in a court of law, but I would argue that
I do like the idea of fantasy court, though, where we should prove our cases.
Yeah, it could be a segment.
Stephen, order some gray wigs and black robes.
Yes, but I would argue that no quarterback was ever more screwed by his receivers than Patrick Mahomes last year. Like, it descended into farce, particularly that Eagles game was just a joke. And I think that they low-key kind of fixed themselves in the postseason. In the postseason, like, you look at Mahomes' EPA per play, back at an MVP level. So I think he'll have a monster year this year with the real receivers now back there. And I think this is going to be the type of thing where Mahomes is like minus 110 to win MVP by week 10. And I think that that'll reflect itself in fantasy and his statistical production.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.